morning, Strange Encounters fans. Sifu back here with my mate Stephen Strong here. We've got a real treat. G'day, Evan. Evan's just walked in. How are you, mate? We've got a real treat for you guys today. Obviously, we're here at day 2, Paradigm Shifts Summit on the Gold Coast. Fantastic event. Yesterday, we were talking about a sacred ring that has recently come into the possession, Stephen's possession. Guess what we have here with us today, and this is a real coup for Strange Encounters fans, because this ring doesn't come out very often at all, does it, Steve?
No, it doesn't.
But tell me, the ring wanted to come out and meet us today, is that right?
Yeah, it actually made that clear to me. A couple of days ago, I was quite surprised because my intention, and I told the people at the time when we did it the first time, I was showing it once so that people could validate we're not making up, it's not a model, it's not photoshopping. And it made it very clear. If I was going to do the ring, I would have thought I could have had it yesterday when I was talking about
That's
it.
right.
But I was quite surprised. But
wow,
I have learnt when I've been dealing with this ring, it runs its own agenda. And
right.
Primarily, if it asks to do something, I'm beyond arguing with it. So I just bought it anyway. So yeah.
So you really are the Lord of the Ring?
No, not the Lord of the Ring. I'm the vassal of the ring.
The vassal of the ring. So do you want to tell us a little bit more? I know, Strange Encounters fans, we did touch on this a little bit yesterday. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the ring, sir?
Well, I'm not really sure what I said yesterday, so it's going to be a bit tricky. I think we spoke about the fact how it was found.
There was an interesting story about the person who actually found this.
Oh, that is different, yeah.
And even the coordinates where it was found as well.
Yeah, the two things. Of course, the coordinates, the ring is found on exactly the same place, that the same coordinates, the same degree of latitude as the carry-on glyphs, and as the Rosses Rock 133 degrees.
Yep.
But the interesting part of this story is that the gentleman who actually found the ring had it in his possession for 5 years, and he was very careful about where he kept it, and he kept it in a black leather pouch which he sent to me.
Yeah.
And then what happened was he was in holidays in Melbourne, and he got a phone call from the police, and the police said, you better come home, your house has been burgled, your car's been stolen and it's been crashed. Well, that wasn't a great holiday, so he came home and he went around his house to look what had been taken. And there was virtually nothing missing, and then all of a sudden he looked down and he saw on the ground the black pouch.
Wow.
And inside the black pouch, the ring wasn't there anymore. And he thought, oh my God, they've got the ring. So he thought, well, that's disappointing, because at that stage he just thought it's a ring, and he told me he'd had a lot of good luck and stuff, his life had been great and everything was good, but that's all it was for him. So he thought, there goes my good luck, and he went down to see his car, and it had been crashed.
Wow.
And then he walked around to the driver's seat, the driver's side seat, and there on the ground was the ring, sitting there. And what's fascinating about that story is that the people who stole the ring, I don't think they took anything else, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they didn't. When they left and got in that car, it's not as if the police were chasing.
Yeah.
Or that someone had rung up, or someone was standing there watching. None of that happened, because no one saw anything. No one had any idea of what took place, and they never found the people. So why would you accelerate so fast that you crashed the car? What are you running away from? When
Oh,
you got it?
that's right.
And then it gets weirder, because obviously they decamped the car and got out.
Yeah.
And as they leave the seat, the ring falls out of the pocket, or wherever it's been held, as they run away. Now, if it had fallen 4 steps further in the bush there, we'd never find it.
You'd never see it again, would you?
But there it was, next to the side of the car, and you start to wonder, did they crash the car, or did the ring crash the car?
Yeah.
And my take is, after dealing with this object for some time now, I'm absolutely convinced that the ring didn't want to go with that person. They wanted to stay with this gentleman, and further down the line they knew the ring would end up where it is now. And it's sort of funny, because I've spoken to the guy, he's a lovely bloke, I can see why the ring called him. Because when he went to look for that ring, he didn't look for it. He actually told me the reason he went up on that hill that morning was because he had a hangover the night before, because they'd celebrated the fact they were going to find the gold.
Oh,
they hadn't got it, but they've got this brand new metal detector, and they were thinking positive for it. It's a good idea. And he was feeling seedy.
So this is one instance where celebrating early actually paid off.
Well, they got. Well, when he got it, he looked at it, and he told me when he first got it, it was just encrusted in junk. Right. And he took it down to the creek and cleaned it up, and there it is. And what does it look like? It looks like gold. And he thought, it's ancient, it looks like gold. This is it. I've made it. So he paid for a really sophisticated analysis, which goes down to 4 decimal points on the percentages. And there at the top it's got no gold found. And that's the first thing it's written, because it's a precious metal assay.
Yeah.
And then you got your copper, your zinc, and your 3 trace elements. So he didn't know. And he spoke to me, and he told me that he is a bit regretful that if he had have known that it's the only one of these in the world ever, it's unique, and there's no other ring like it, if he'd known that, he could have got, I mean, they
6 figures.
Oh, easy.
reckon?
But if he'd known that it's actually got the insignia of Atlantis on it.
Well, this is what I was just about to ask you, Stephen, about the whole Atlantean connection. Are you talking about 5 rings?
Well, yeah.
Atlantean rings, and this is one of those?
Yeah, well, 3 rings, yeah.
3 rings,
yeah.
sorry, 3.
But the reason why we identified this as Atlantis, obviously having exactly the same chemicals as orichalcum helps. But then you've got to go further, because the markings, as the psychic told me, the one that did this reading on us, me not being there, said, it's all in the markings. Now that's what Howard Carter said about his ring.
That's right.
It was in the markings of the ring, so that's very important.
Sacred geometry.
Yeah, well, and you'll notice that all of them in 4x2,
Yep.
4 mil by 2 each,
Yep.
captions like that, and 2x2 as it goes along. Well, what we found, 4x4 and then 2x4. What we found is Roz, the person who bought the ring, did a lot of research and found that clover, the clover leaf, is actually... I might just wait one sec. The clover leaf there, that design stands underneath the design of Atlas holding the earth on his shoulders, and that is the Berber motif for Atlas.
Right.
Atlas is the son of Poseidon who began Atlantis, and Atlas is the name Atlantis comes from Atlas. So you've got a clue. And then you've got the other one, which is 5. Now those 5 are all circles, and beside the circle is a vertical line and a horizontal line. Each one of them's got one of each. Now I know from the diagrams and the description from Plato, Plato said that the centre part of Atlantis was made of 5 rings, 3 of water, 2 of land. And to get to those rings they had roads that went horizontally and vertically.
Okay, yeah.
So what we've got is 5 rings with horizontal and vertical lines.
Yep.
We've got Atlas as the other player. It is not a large stretch to say that must represent Atlantis.
Yeah. Sure.
And we feel that the Atlantis, because at the start it was supposed to be a spiritual setup, that Atlantis motif represents the feminine, and Atlas obviously, well, he had a penis and he was carrying the world, he had big shoulders, so that must represent the male. That part's easy. And we think that's the balance, and we also have been told that it was Atlas who actually made that wrong cut that I've shown you there. That's obviously not the same. It's not geometric.
That cut's very interesting, though, isn't it? This is where you believe that the ring was tainted.
Yes.
And this is where it becomes the negative, the evil properties.
Yeah,
come
well,
into
that's
it.
what the ring, when I was downloaded by that ring when it was 800 k's
Where
away.
is the actual? I'm not going to touch it, obviously, but
It's that one there.
can we get that around for
You
me?
might get it. It's pretty faint, but it's there. That particular marking is not in accord with the geometry of the whole thing,
Right.
and it's not cut as deep, and it's a different cut, and it's obviously done after the event. And the ring has told me that is where the evil, because to begin with there were 2 rings of pure good and 1 of evil,
Yes.
which is a good balance, and now it's 1.5 both ways because of what's taking place. And once that evil gets inside there, it can mask itself as being pure good because
Wow.
it's right next to its neighbour and they're living alongside. And what that creates is an imbalance within that ring. And what it also does is it loses its conscience. Before that was there, if an evil person put that ring on it, they'd just kill him.
Well, isn't it funny you were talking about today? You had people coming up to see your awesome, collection of stones here. And there were people, you hadn't even shown this to anyone, and people started to feel a bit queasy coming
One
up to
person asked me if I could put it back underneath there because it was making her feel uncomfortable. She thought it might be destroying the energy of the whole group. I'm not so sure that's the case because I think most of the group would like to know about the ring, so I don't think that's the case, but it may be for her. She's very sensitive. She has seen the ring once before and she had to walk away from it. So that's okay.
You were talking, Stephen, before about obviously the ring came out here, it wanted to come out here and meet with us today, and you were talking there might be a possibility of putting it in one of our palms.
Down the line, that could happen.
Down the line?
That could happen.
We can't twist her arm to do it on camera?
No, because if it's done, I'd like it to be a private thing.
Okay,
and
certainly, I
then
respect
find out
that.
and not so much televised if it's to be done. And
yes,
to
absolutely.
hold it for 30 seconds, I'd like you to have a reaction. If you do get a reaction, well, fine. If you get nothing, because for me,
what happens if I really like it? Does that say something about my personality?
if you start vomiting, this is something again too. If you start doing projectile vomiting, as one group did when they took it out. Oh yeah. No, the group that took it away, I heard about that, laying on the ground, writhing in agony.
This is just incredible. That's awesome. Wow, what a story. So there you go, Strange Encounters fans. What a scoop. This is something that you just do not see every day. And as Mr. Strong pointed out earlier, very rare. Very rare do the public get a glimpse of this.
Yeah, it's the last time we'll do it.
It's the last time we're going to do it. So there you go, share it around, guys. It's just not going to happen. And fingers crossed, old Sifu here doesn't experience any projectile vomiting a little bit later on during the day when I get to hold it. Thank you very much, sir.
No worries,
You're
mate.
a dead set legend.
Thank you. No
Great,
worries,
thank
mate.
you.
To begin with, what I try and do whenever I get new archaeology, I try and do the science first before any other things, but I'm fully aware of the fact there's another part to most archaeology in Australia, which is the mystical and sacred side.
I love that.
Yeah, and if people don't do that, if they don't look at that, they're doing a disservice to the original people, because the original people are mystics.
Magical people.
Yeah, and look, I've been with an elder that can disappear, that can ring me up from 3,000 k's away and tell me everything I did that day, but he wasn't there, and told me he was telling through a red kangaroo that told him this story, and I made a mistake, and he told me about that.
Don't let Telstra get a hold of that sort of technology, mate. We'll be looking at 6G or something along those lines.
Well, remember this, when we went into this site, which was 3,000 k's away from where Kano was when he rung me, and he rung me 4 hours later and told me what I did, that I didn't smoke myself, that the brown owl flew out when we got there, and I asked myself at the time, and I knew the answer, how could you know things like that? And I asked him that, and he said, I've got a red kangaroo, and he was told by someone else, and I'm thinking, who am I talking to, Dr. Doolittle? And what I realised is, the same person who spoke to that kangaroo was the same person who disappeared in front of me and Graham Hancock. And what he told me once was that everything I can do, every person on this planet can do. So the ring, for me, is an extension of that story, because it was found in Australia.
Yeah.
It was found by a gentleman by the name of Sean, and he was prospecting at Hill End, 33 degrees, as we said, sitting on there, and he found it. It was 1.5 metres beneath the surface. Now, the problem with that is, as a general rule, 1.5 metres beneath the surface equates to around about 40,000 years. Now, my question is, what the hell is a ring which is made of 5 elements, fully formed up? What's it doing in Australia, 1.5 metres beneath the surface? Why is that? Because we've done a lot of archaeology, and I don't do rings because, not that thing there, but we don't do rings. Now, what is it there for? So the question we come with straight away is, was the ring put there? Was it hidden? Or did it fall there by mistake? And of course, it didn't fall by mistake. It was put there.
But how it came to your attention, though, Stephen, was just fascinating. The story about, you know, that psychic or that magical connection about, Stephen, you've got to have a look at this.
Yeah, this lady bought it. Roz bought the ring and rang me up and said, you've got to have a look at it. I said, Roz, it's rings. I do rocks. I do skulls. We're just dealing with that. I said, we do anything. Well, we don't do metal stuff. She said, no, we've got to get it. And I thought, well, you're right. You buy it, fine. Okay, it's her, mate. I can't stop doing that. And then she sent the thing down to me.
Right.
And I looked at it and I thought, oh, no, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to touch it, because I don't want to write about that. And I finally did 4 months on, with no idea what it was. First time I've written about any jewellery, and no concept of what I was going to write. And as I said in the talk, for the first time in my life, my son does computers, I went and just punched up the 5 elements, and lo and behold, the only recognisable entry to that is the fact it comes from Atlantis, and it was only in Atlantis that orichalcum was found. Wow. It lined the temple walls, the inner temples. It was considered to be the equal of gold in their country. Plato spoke about it. Pliny the Elder spoke about this orichalcum being so important. And we've never written about Atlantis. I don't know where it is, and I don't really care. What I do know is it existed because this ring You look it up. There's none made. There's not a ring like it on this planet. There's nothing like it that's made like this, that looks like this. And I think I told the group there, you look at the two insignias there, and I can make a very strong case they both relate to Atlantis. The chemical construction is Atlantean. So what we then have is we've done the research. We know of one other case of the same sort of stuff being found, but completely, same elements, but in a completely different setup and constituency. And then we think to ourselves, okay, what do we do next? And that's where it gets difficult, because when I go on site, I know what I'm going to do. I know what archaeology I'm going to do. I know what things I'm going to do. Okay, well, I'm going to go on site tomorrow rather. I knew exactly what I was going to do.
Yep.
With this, I haven't got a clue. I've no idea what to do, except that everyone said that these rings from Atlantis were magic. And that's obviously the story about Howard Carter's ring, because he had one of the three rings.
Yes.
And he made it very clear. That's why he walked out of that site, Tutankhamun's tomb, and stayed alive, and all the rest died.
So many, what was there, 16 that perished?
Yeah. And he wore that ring until the day he died on his little finger.
Wow.
So we knew about that one, and we know a little bit about this one, but the interesting part of this one is that it's been tainted. It's been...
tainted rings?
Well, yeah, it's been affected.
You've got your own golem story about this ring, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, because what happened was another person got the ring, Precious.
My precious, my precious.
And all of a sudden, she was conspiring, and I've heard stories of other ladies telling me on the way back, she was conspiring with ladies saying, how shall we lie to Steve so we can get this ring? And she basically, for all intents and purposes, I got attacked and it was stolen off me. Not in as many words, but that's what took place, through the lies and all the stuff that took place. And then that lady then starts putting up posts saying she's going to kill me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm coming straight out of Lord of the Rings. It's getting ridiculous. And anyway, we got it back. We got the ring back, and we had that. It came back, and it's what I found is that I always questioned whether the ring, when it vibrated in my body, whether it could just do it for me. Then I saw the meeting we had at the car park when the whole thing blew apart, and I knew, my God, it spread to all the people in this area. Then later on, the ring speaks to me when it's been taken off me from 800 k's away, and I realise now, distance, not a problem.
It's nothing really, is it?
And it's not just me, because I saw all the people. In fact, I mentioned at the time that people wouldn't believe. I won't say what actually happened on the day, because it was so ridiculous. I was stunned. Wow. People were screaming at me, yelling at me aggressively, and I said to one person, I wouldn't talk to a dog like that. And it was really bizarre because they were possessed.
Possessed, yeah.
And when they were coming back talking about lying, lying is a bad thing. It's a really bad thing. And to tell people you're doing it, and then to post it, you're going to kill me. This person was that possessed, they weren't even careful of what they were saying. So we have the ring back now at the moment. We know about, I've mentioned the white ring, pure white ring, which is in France, and that's the one that Carter had a copy of. We know the dark ring, which is purely dark. There were 3 rings that were made, and I know that sounds like Lord of the Rings again, but Tolkien's story, you've got to remember, Tolkien's story is a Scandinavian myth.
Yes. It's
not where he sat one day and said, I've got a thought. And I believe the Scandinavian myth is about Atlantis, Lemuria, and earlier civilizations that were ruled by these rings. I believe the ring in Lemuria is purely good. I believe that the ring that we've got is a mixture of the two because it was tainted. So
are they human forged? So when you're talking about these ancient, it is really, guys, in that magical realm where,
it is.
And even your connection with it. I mean, Steve tells a story about when he was in possession of this ring, and he actually put out a challenge to the ring. He's gone, okay, you're magical. Righto, prove it to the old lizard brain here. Yeah. I need to see results. So, correct me if I'm wrong.
Of course, what it did was it went on for 20 minutes. It was pulsating through the... It wasn't a bad feeling, but in the end I realised I will never sleep. And I just put it aside and actually told the ring, I said straight out, I don't need any more. You don't have to do it again. I don't need any proof now, because humans, we're like that. We want to see it first before you're going to go out on a limb. So I know it can do that.
But isn't it funny how you were compelled to take it off too? So that would give you a little bit of...
Oh, I took it off because I couldn't sleep, not because it was harming me.
Okay, right. Okay.
It didn't make me feel uncomfortable. It was quite nice.
Oh, right.
I just felt like, you can't sleep with this going on. It's like it's just constant. It was quite nice, and it was quite... I enjoyed it, but I figured I want to sleep tonight. I hadn't slept for a couple of nights, and this isn't going to do it. So I let it slide. But since it's come back, it's become obvious to me what its role is, and I believe that the three rings were way back at the start. It was two strong, positive, pure rings and one negative ring. And someone said to me once, "Why the negative ring?" I said, "That's more important than the positive rings." And they looked at me and said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Mate, don't you understand? If there was not evil on this planet, if there wasn't a curtain, why can't it'd be like it'd just be a holiday, a scenic tour for a couple of weeks, and you go back because you know everything. If you know everything, what are you going to learn?"
Exactly.
So we honour evil, and the original people, we don't fear it, we honour it because it's here for it has a function. Its function is to test you. So that one ring was devoted to that is fine. But because two were made that were purely good, then Atlantis should have been heaven on earth. It had that potential. And we know from what we were told from the ring, it started off that way. And then
it's all well-meaning things do.
Yeah, and then Atlas, best laid plans, always. Atlas comes along, cuts it, we don't know why he cut it, infects it with the evil, and now they both sit inside. It was interesting, and I mentioned this at the time, when the other people had the ring and they did ceremonies, all they were doing was projectile vomiting, and they were covered in sweat, and you would think, if you were thinking about this properly, you'd say, and the person who had the ring couldn't keep it in their house because it was making them sick. Me, I've had it with me all the time. You would think the person would think, it's not working. This isn't good. Why am I vomiting? Why am I sweating everywhere? This is not right. Why can't I go near the thing? But they were so taken by the fact that we'd spoken to them, because I said to the person involved when they were doing this, I said, "Look, man, that evil has been living with good for so long, you don't think it can't hide itself?" And I said, "You think it is?
Yeah,
everyone that goes to battle and they fight for God, no one ever hides a banner saying, 'I'm fighting for the devil.' They're all fighting for God, but I'm thinking there's two groups fighting each other. They're both saying they're fighting for God. One of them can't be.
That's right. Someone's
but they believe they are."
That's
and I said
exactly
this person, "You're dealing with a consummate master of evil. This is pure evil in its purest form, and it's been living with good, and it knows how to hide itself, so it's going to present itself in a way. And you've got to look at it and say, if you're lying, if you're threatening to kill people, if you're doing projectile vomiting, which part of the ring you're dealing with? It's obvious which part it is.
Right.
So my job in this story is people seem to think that
it's still unfolding though, Steve.
well, but it's not as elevated as some people think it is, because my job is basically I'm an obstetrician here. I'm giving birth to something, but once the baby's born, I give it to mum, and I don't have the ring anymore. I made that clear before. I have the ring at the moment because the same with the rocks. I've got rocks that the elders have said they will never take back when we put these on portal. But I will take those rocks and say, because you can deal with this. So for whatever the reason is, that evil that's in there, because that one person saw it when I had it in the ring, he said the whole of your body went black.
Wow.
A huge aura of black.
So
And he said, it would
change,
kill me.
change, yeah.
He said, you shouldn't wear it. I said, no, you got this wrong, bud. I said, if you wore it, what would happen? It'd kill me. He said, I wore it. Look at me. I'm talking to you now. I said, that evil means nothing to me. I can deal with it. That's why I was given that job. So I was chosen because it sounds quite strange, because I can understand evil. I've been there.
Well, that's what we do in Strange Encounters. We understand strange.
Yeah, well, good. But you understand it. Because if you didn't understand evil, this would kill you. This would kill you for sure. But in my case, no, it won't, because I've dealt with it in our previous lives, and people have made that very clear. So for me, it's not an issue. But I didn't get chosen the job because I was elevated, pure with holy chakras. I was chosen for this job, the same with the rocks, the same with the ring, because I'm not elevated. I've done a lot of bad things in past lives, and I'm aware of it. And therefore, if you work with evil, when you see it, you think, oh, you know.
The thing is, Stephen, you know, when you're talking about that, you're talking about your shadow self, and a lot of people spend all their lives denying the existence of that. But even, I know, because you're given it power, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, like, waddling around here earlier today, the people that I've been really connecting with are all telling very similar stories. They're telling very similar story about that integration, that process, and of that part of them, of themselves that they're trying to integrate. And it's actually helping them become whole and a bigger, more powerful version of themselves.
Well, you know, there's a very good saying that says, know thy enemy. If you're going to defeat your enemy, you don't regard it as something you've got to beat the crap out of. Regard it as something that you understand. You understand why it's there, and what its purpose is. And its purpose, it's got a holy purpose. It's a beautiful cartoon I saw. And I still remember it when God and the devil were playing chess. And the devil says, I don't want to play this anymore. I'm done playing this game. And God says, well, if you don't play, there'll be no game.
Well, that's right.
So therefore,
That's a good point.
when we talk about the third ring being evil, thank God that it is, because it needs to be here.
That's like
The problem is that my understanding was Atlantis, when it was doing this, people still said things were wrong and did things were wrong, but it was never lauded. It was recognised for what it was. And they tolerated it. And they said, okay, you're going through troubles, you'll get over it. But today, the people who are evil run the country. And they run everything. And basically, because the fact is that one ring has complete dominion over everything. My understanding is the other two rings, I don't know what's going on with the French ring. I don't know what they're doing. I'm hoping they're getting it together. Our job is to get the other one clean. And once it's clean, I pass it on to the women. And that's the ones who will actually activate it. That's the point. My job is not to actually make it do things. My job is to make it ready for others, women, to do things.
Take up the mantle, yeah.
And at the moment, what's inside is that evil. It's got definitely got a male insignia about it. We know that's the case because men destroy, women create. Okay, that's part of what we do, but we can moderate that. So it's there, and I've sensed it. I mean, I can see it's in there. But the only problem I've got is when that clairvoyant said, I'll find the answer, I made the point. I don't know what the question is, but to begin with, I can't ask a question until it's clean. So the first
things first.
So we've got an idea, and we actually have done a ceremony which worked on it. And I'm going to be doing a ceremony in about 3 days with a lady that's at this group, who's one of the 3 women who's allowed to wear it. But I can't say who it is.
No, that's fine.
I'm not allowed to. But one of the women here at the moment is one of the ring bearers that will be wearing this ring later on. And she's had the ring before. I've seen what happened, and I was told when you buy the ring, she's one of the 3. So then, when that happens, and the original people told me the same story, when the Pleiadians come, it becomes feminine.
So
and men protect and stand back.
Look, we're running out of time, Stephen. It's a pleasure talking to you, and I did want to ask you about the whole significance of the location, the 33 degrees and the Pleiadian connection, but I could talk to you forever, and I'm probably going to twist Cosmic Girl's arm a bit later and do another one with you, mate, if I could, and get some more information. You're just a wealth of knowledge. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I've even actually scored myself an autographed copy of the new book. Check this out. Check this out. Between a rock and a hard place, guys. You got to my Molly Meldrum. Do yourselves a favour and get a copy of this. I've got my own autographed, signed copy of this, which is absolutely fantastic, and I'm going to really treasure that. So thank you very much for your time, sir.
Pleasure, mate.
And thanks for being on Strange Encounters Down Under.
Excellent. Couldn't be a better place.